everybody, this is Tezlon for Drop Top Tees, and we're here today to do a mod to Itsy Bitsy, even though right now I'm showing you Saxy. The reason I'm showing you Saxy is because Saxy is an Abarth, so she comes factory with a strut brace. Itsy is a Classica, she doesn't have a strut brace. Worse, you can see the strut brace fastens to bolts on the engine cowl. Now if you have a Classica or a Lisso, your engine cowl does not have those bolts. It's the same exact engine cowl, except the piece of metal with the bolts on them don't exist. So if you want to put strut braces like I got Cusco's, you have to change out the engine cowl, which I just got done. So let me show you how Itsy looks right now. Here, by the way, this is strut brace we're going to be putting on. It's not really blue, it's aluminum. This is just protective wrap for shipping. And here is what she looks like.
Ow!
This is an OEM Abarth engine cowl that we just got put on. I'm not going to show you how to do that because of the fact that I didn't do it. Way too much effort and work for me to do. You basically have to take all this off to get down in there and do it. So I had my local Dodge dealer do it for us, and I must say we use Uptown Dodge here in Dallas over by Love Field. Matter of fact, it used to be called Love Field Dodge a long time ago, and then Metro Dodge, and now it's Uptown Dodge. But Mitch Shutter is a service advisor who's very friendly to the DFW Fiat Club America. If you're a member of the club and you need any kind of service on a Fiat and you go in and ask for Mitch, he will give you 15% off parts and labor. He has always, I've been dealing with Uptown Dodge for about a year now, before they changed the name, but Mitchell's been there the whole time. They have always been very fair with me and done good work. So what we need to do, normally if you wanted to upgrade from an Abarth, you would have to take the existing strut brace off. We're not going to do that because we don't have one. So we put on the new engine cowl. Now we're going to install the strut brace. So what we're going to have to do, take these bolts off on the existing towers. These two little bolts we're going to have to take off because this is just a clamp that holds this hose in place. Since we're replacing this part, we have to remove this and we'll swap it out. Over on the other side, we're going to want to loosen up our reservoir, get that out of the way, loosen up these three bolts, take them off, and then we'll be ready to put it on. So that's what we're going to do now. We're also going to have to take this off. Once we take this piece off, we'll be able to take a pair of pliers and just squeeze the back of this and pull this wire out, and we'll show you that as we go. Now, what kind of tools do we need? Actually, we need several because all these nuts are different sizes, it seems.
That's nuts.
And I have a mix of metric and SAE. For the strut brace nuts, I'm going to be using 9/16, 10 millimeter for the reservoir bolts. On the strut brace itself, once we get everything down, there's one joint where we're going to need a, what is this, 5/16 Allen, as well as a 17 millimeter socket, and we'll need a pair of pliers just to squeeze the back end of that one little harness that we need to get loose. So let's start taking nuts off, and hopefully we don't drop too many, because the nuts that we take off the strut tower we're going to have to reuse when we put the strut brace on. So we definitely don't want to lose any of those. Let's start off getting this in. And hopefully these wires aren't going to be a problem from my blow-off valve. We may have to reroute them just a little bit. Shouldn't be too big of a deal. So we can pull that off. Pull this up. And now, these are supposed to be hard to come undone because they're really torqued down. So we'll see. Ah, that's not very bad at all. I thought, having watched other videos, I thought that was going to be kind of a bear, but it's not. I thought it was going to be a lot harder. There's a little bit of pull required, but it's not very bad actually.
I guess it wasn't torqued enough.
Maybe I've been working out in my sleep and my muscles are growing stronger.
Maybe.
Now again, we're going to reuse these nuts.
Isn't that nuts that we're gonna reuse the nuts?
No.
Okay, I'll stop making the bad jokes.
You're a daughter, you don't do dad jokes.
I said bad
And
jokes.
see here, we have to squeeze the side of this and poke that through, so I need my wrench. Now, we have to take this off. You can see the little pegs on each side. Just gonna take a pair of pliers, squeeze it in, and it should poke through. Ta-da! Don't need this anymore. These will go into my original parts pile. I have a growing mountain of original parts pile, which strangely for some reason includes a leaf blower, and I do not think that came with. I shouldn't need them now.
I know.
Hey, let me
right?
have that little. I think these are 10s as well. They sure look like 10s. That was harder than the strut tower nut. I guess they didn't want this thing to move. Now this piece that I'm taking off is going to go right back down on studs on the new strut brace. The one I took off over on the other side, we basically have to zip tie on. I don't think it has a provision for it on the strut brace, but this just pulls up, and I'm just going to leave it there, not in the way. Ta-da! Nope, not hard. Now, if you were changing out an Abarth strut brace, you would have what we just did to get ready. All that would be exactly the same. And you would have the nut right here and right here. So if you're replacing the stock one on an Abarth, it's not much more complicated than what we're doing right now. And you have the added advantage of not having to replace the engine cowl. Okay. Off to the original parts pile. The OEM PP. You know what? We're gonna have to loosen those up, I think, because the way they come from the factory, we have to loosen this joint up, flip them around to get them lined up right. Man, those were torqued down more than the strut brace. nuts were. Okay. Now we're going to flip them around into place. Probably have to do the same on the other side. All right. Can you go get a scissors for that? I don't feel like ripping my fingers. Okay, so we're going to put these in place. That's good. It's not going to interfere with my catch can. And by the way, if you buy the Cusco or whatever, however you call it, however you say it, the oops, I have to get this up. The instructions come in Chinese, so you literally can't use the instructions that come with the product to help you, because
Unless if you speak
they don't
Chinese.
fit. Unless you read Chinese, yes. Okay, so that's in place, but what they do want you to do is put this on before you put the back on, and hopefully it's going to reach. There we go. You're gonna have to wiggle it a little bit to get it all lined up, but we have everything in place. So now we can start tightening things down. And I think what I'm going to do is tighten down these first, and then I'll put the other parts on. I won't tighten them down. I'll just
Finger
hand tighten
tight.
them. Okay. There we go. Now, whereas these had posts before, Cusco gave us some screws, some bolts, so we're going to see. I've had some people say they're too short. We will find out right now. First, let's take these big washers, drop them in up here. These nuts on. Again, we aren't going to tighten them down. I'm just getting them in place. And then let's see
The golden.
if those are going to be long enough, because this was made for an MX-5 ND, and I've been told these may not fit. There is no way they fit, so we're gonna have to get some longer bolts to put on there. That's no big deal. It's not gonna go anywhere where it's at. Here you go. And then we'll run to the store and get those parts. We don't have the same issue over here because we have studs to put this piece on. And as Dano points out in his video on the same thing, where he switched one out on a Abarth, they show using a torque wrench on this. Unfortunately, since it's Chinese, you can't figure out what you're supposed to torque it down to. So I'm going to torque mine just a little bit tighter than they were when I took them off. Actually, I'm doing it a lot tighter. I want to emphasize again, make sure you have everything in place before you tighten it down, because as you saw when I first put these on, I had to jostle a little bit to get it over the post back here. Get everything in place and loose before you tighten it down. Tighten down the strut towers first. Then we'll do these. Then last step, we'll tighten down this joint. That'll allow us to have play all the way through and get everything put on just right. Ooh.
Oh, why are you barking at us? What did we do?
We didn't let him go for a ride yet. He's pissed.
I know.
He wants that top down kind of style. Right? Okay. Okay, come over here. And I forgot to mention it when I started. The nuts that go on here are 12 millimeters. You want to cinch them down pretty good, because that's providing the stability by mounting it to the, this is what connects it to the car, actually. So you want to torque these down pretty good too. Again, with the instructions being in Chinese, we don't know what the exact torque specs are. Because I don't know about you, but I don't read Chinese. I don't even know what their numbers look like. They could be right there in front of me and I wouldn't know what they are. But what I did, I made sure that I torqued everything down a little bit tighter than they were in the beginning, and I think that's going to be good. Besides what I just mentioned, which was just basically cleanup stuff. Listen to this. We get to peel off the protective wrap.
But it looks cooler that way.
It looks cooler blue.
Yes.
I don't know, with this, you know, that chrome on the engine, man. If you want to chrome some other stuff out, that would look sharp.
Yeah.
And it matches the water, the windshield wiper reservoir blue, so there's a little bit of consistency in color theme. Gives me an idea. When we plasti dip this, maybe we should plasti dip that a blue that matches. So we'll end up with silver or chrome and blue, and that'll be what it is. What do you think? Okay, so now that we have this secure, we need to tighten up our joints. And the one on the other side. Let's hope I can get into it. I may have to go this way.
That's why they're two sides of an Allen wrench.
Yep. There we go. So my fingers are strong enough to hold this. Okay. And now, okay, so what I had to do was I ran to Home Depot and bought a 1/4 by 1 inch bolt, and we're going to put this back down if I can hold it in and get everything on. I may have wanted to get 1 1/4 for putting this. Most people don't have this part on here, so it doesn't matter. 1 inch is long enough. We'll see how tight this goes. I need to get that box wrench. There we go. Okay. So again, that was a 1/4 by 1 inch bolt. You need 2 of them. I put washers above and below and the appropriate nuts to go on them. And again, because it's designed for the ND, the bolts that come with the kit are a little bit too short for the 124 application. But that's all of another. It was about $1 at Home Depot to get what I needed to do it. Now let's look at this. What I'm going to do here is, obviously this is a little bit different than the ND, because they have a little nipple here to put this part on, I guess. And so I'm just going to take, and I think I can zip tie it just like this, so it'll be in the same almost exact place. Shouldn't mess anything up at all. That nipple should hold this on, and there's a place over here. If you can see, there's a little edge right here. I'm going to zip tie it right there, so that should, I hope, hold that right there. This is one we'll see how it works with time, right? So fortunately, I have a deep socket 10mm. That's going to be perfect for tightening those up, and we'll be completely done. Oh yeah. And that's a wrap. Took us what? If we had to take all those bolts off, we only had 2 extra bolts. So if you have like the one over here on Saxy, if you wanted to upgrade to a nicer one, you got the same 3 bolts, same thing here, everything's the same. You just got these 2 to take off. They're easy to reach. Bam. Overall, easily done in half an hour. And just understand that you will have to go to Home Depot or Lowe's or your favorite hardware store and get some longer bolts to cinch down your water reservoir over there. Under half an hour to do it. Simple things. If you're doing it on a Classica or Lisso, and you have to change out the engine cowl first, because putting this on here without securing it to the car itself is just not right. Don't do it. You need to have this here to add rigidity to the chassis. So there's one more thing I probably have to do. When you add a front strut brace, you add a little bit of understeer to the car. I like my car to have a little bit of oversteer because I like the steering capability it gives me with the throttle in turns. And so I have to take it out and take it down some hard turns and see how it feels to me. I'll probably want to go and get the front end aligned to get it back to right where I want it. Okay. So why would you want to put a strut brace on your car? Well, if you have an Abarth, it already has one, and you may just want to upgrade to the Cusco model just because it looks a little nicer, a little bit stronger performer. But on a Classica or Lisso, they don't come with them stock. Why would you want to go through the time and expense involved in upgrading? To be honest, it's probably one of the last things you should do if you're looking to upgrade your suspension, because you're going to get the least amount of benefit from it. You're going to want to put on lowering springs, coilovers, better shocks, sway bars, and this would actually be a last step if you're totally performance oriented. But all the other stuff doesn't give you something that this does, and that is the way it looks. To be real honest, a lot of people that put these on nowadays, especially if you have a double wishbone suspension in the front of your car, do it because it looks nice. It adds a little bit of bling to your engine compartment, and if you go to car shows, this is just another way to make your car look, set it out from the crowd. However, that said, you do get a performance benefit. Like I said, the McPherson Strut suspensions benefit the most. Our 124s have double wishbone front suspensions. These really came into play because of the McPherson Struts, where they load all the, when you corner or hit some bump, all the forces are loaded under the top of the strut, which is connected to the car, and they put these on to reduce the body roll and chassis flex. And the double wishbone suspension doesn't have that same setup, so you do get some chassis rigidity gained, and it will help a very little bit with the body roll, but it gives you more predictable driving in corners, and it gives you a little more predictable driving if you hit, like one tire hits a bump and the other one doesn't. So you get a little bit more predictability in your driving. It's not going to necessarily add cornering speed or reduce time off your laps per se. However, because it gives you a little bit more predictability in driving and it feels better, that may give you the confidence to go a little faster, which will result in slightly lower lap times. So again, I would say 75% looks, 25% function. If you're looking to go autocross or anything like that, do your suspension upgrades first, do this last. As always, give us a thumbs up if you like it. Hit subscribe if you want to see more. We got a special treat coming up, I hope, in about a week or two, probably 2 weeks before I post another one. It's going to be something you've never seen on any kind of 124 before. It's purely cosmetic. Don't know how it's going to look yet. I'm just hoping it turns out well. But it's going to be at least a week before I post it. I would say probably the last week of July, just as a tease. I'd say most likely the last week of July. I'll show you one that I'm doing purely cosmetic that I don't think anybody's ever done on a 124 before. So that's just something to look for last week of July. Ciao.